So my name is Carlos Walker. This is Art and Hustle Black Authors Matter. Today I'm here with Mr. David C. Hughes. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, brother. How about yourself?
Enjoying life. So before we start, if you will, share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
All right. Who else? Loaded. Seems simple, but loaded. So I do a few things. So my full time profession is a professor. So I'm associate professor of sport management. Outside of that, I have a app called Give Black. We are a social impact fintech app. So essentially, what we do is anybody who's looking to give to any black organization, black cause, you download the app, you find a organization that you're interested in, you can give via your phone. We're currently on the doing the finishing touches of upgrading the app. So it's been about 3 years since we had our last upgrade. So we're doing some major renovations to that. And then outside of that, I am a pastoral candidate within the United Methodist Church. So I'm a faith leader. And now author. So yeah, all connected, all interconnected.
Man, one, thank you for being who you are, for choosing to take the path that you have chosen from inventor to faith leader to becoming an author.
I
Every one
appreciate
of
that.
these, yeah, every one of these things are very important to humanity. And thank you. So,
Salute to you, brother.
man, look, so now we are here because you are, as you just lastly stated, you are an author. So, if you will, share with me why you created the book and then a little bit about the book.
Yeah, so my book, Message to the Black Athlete: Reclaiming Faith, Family, and Freedom Through Sport. Originally, it's a twist on Elijah Muhammad's book, who inspired a lot of my work.
Message
Message
to
to
the
the
Black
Black
man.
Man. Yeah,
Shout
yeah,
out, shout out to the ancestor, the honorable
yeah.
Elijah Muhammad.
So I wanted to do was he's inspired a lot of my work. So what I wanted to do was put a Christian twist on his book, and then make it applicable for men and women, and then use sports as the foundation. So we always use sports for when you're young, you still need to play sports because it can teach you how to work in a team,
Hmm.
how to take a back seat, when to
Hmm.
cheer, when to motivate, how to take constructive criticism, work ethic, ethics in general, not cheating. And sports is a microcosm of society. So with me teaching sport management, I just felt like this was the best way for me to help my community. So essentially, it's a guide or a self help book for any person who is dealing with student athletes, coaching student athletes, or is a student athlete, for them to navigate the system between NIL, not getting used, transitioning from high school to the collegiate to the professional ranks. If you look at just what's happened within the last calendar year in sports, we're seeing things we've never seen before. During the football season last year, we had a young player for the Dallas Cowboys, take his own life during the season. A couple weeks ago, we have a third year, maybe fourth year player take his life during the off season.
Mm.
Then we had also like a couple, I think right after the Super Bowl, we have a first round pick finish for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm blanking on his name right now. He finishes the season. Now he's probably going to jail for trying to hit his girlfriend with the car. So he made it through one NFL season, was a first round pick, and now he's probably going to jail for at least 5 to 15 years. This is all within one calendar year. And so That's essentially what my book is. So just like Elijah was like, "Hey, I want to talk to the black man," I want to talk to the black athlete. And so the
Mhm.
purpose is to redefine in our community what faith, family, and freedom means. Because when we hear it, the first thing we might think about is, people who don't share our same hue, our political stance, or something. And so that's why I said it's reclaiming faith, family, and freedom, because it doesn't only belong to those people. If faith, family, and freedom will belong to any racial demographic group in this country, yeah, it's us. And so it's very subtle, but when you look at reclaiming, I have a short passage in it in the book. In the intro, I said, if you're familiar with Jay Z, at one point on the Pump It Up beat, he's like, "Give me that beat, fool. It's a full time Jack move." And so that's essentially what the book is. It's saying, no, we're going to take back faith, family, and freedom, and we're going to use sport to do it. And we're going to use sport to actually improve our community like it was designed to. And so that was the purpose of me writing the book, is to help us better understand how we could use the system that was created to benefit our people and then ultimately bring glory to God.
Mm. Um, you kind of unpacked a little bit there and answered questions, but I'm just going to be a little blunt and say, because you did answer the question of why you
Hmm.
created. You want to you want to reintroduce, take back, but help these young men pretty much become stronger in faith, freedom, and friends. Because
Hmm.
according to these three young men that you just talked about, if they had faith, especially the first two, their lives may not have been taken.
Yeah,
Because guess what? They know that they're not relying on outside entities. They have to believe in God in order to keep going. The course ain't easy, but it's fulfilling and worthy. But they
absolutely.
didn't, unfortunately, have enough vision to be able to see past the moment. So it reintroduces faith to them. Number two, friends. Everybody needs somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Whether it's a friend, whether it's somebody that God just bring by you, and you may not even know who this person is, but you can unleash or release whatever it is that's heavy on your heart and get it off, so that you can think through the thoughts. Because obviously, not only the first two, but the last guy you spoke about, he needed somebody, a good friend, to tell him, man, this ain't a good decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, you get look, you done made it to places that most people will never get to, who literally takes this chance every day. What they, I forgot how many people they said is actually in
It's
little
less than
league.
it's about 1%. Once you play high school, you have less than anywhere from 1 to 3% chance to play in the NFL. Then to
And
be a first round pick, you talking about only 32
1%
people.
of the ones that even go to
Yeah,
go to school,
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
that
That's
is
only 32
crazy.
people. Yeah. So excuse
And
me, it would be 31 other people did what he did.
what he actually done, unfortunately, thank God he's still alive. So his life can come back. I mean, he can become something even greater even after this,
Absolutely.
after the prison time. But what he's able to do is still come back, but with a friend, with faith, and what he's going to receive in some time is freedom. Hopefully, matter of fact, I don't know how you can do this, but your book need to be in his hands.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good idea.
I don't know how, but I would inspire you to figure out, if I have to pay for it, we need to figure out how to get this in his hands, just to get him to moving his thoughts around and realize that he still got a comeback story.
Absolutely.
But what inspired, or what tugged on your heart to make you create this book?
Yeah, so actually, I used to work in the NFL, so that's why I got my Texans gear on. So I used to work for the Texans, and so working in the NFL, you essentially see how the sausage is made.
Mm.
And once you see how the sausage is made,
It's a
and
you
you
don't
see
even want to eat it.
I just felt like there has to be a systems are designed to work how they're supposed to work. So if you look at I believe the statistics is like over 70% of NFL players go broke within 3 to 5 years after retiring. Then they have to deal with divorce as well. All that is a symptom. All of that is a symptom. So uh, if you if you believe that America will just give hundreds of black men
Millions of
millions of
dollars.
dollars per year and then not look to get it back, you're being naive.
Mm.
So that's why it's important to have black representation. Trustworthy black representation that can help and guide you. If you look at it's the same story. Oh, my accountant took this amount of money from me. Whether you're like Kevin Garnett or whether you're this athlete, there's always an agent or somebody stealing from these multi wealthy black
Mm.
athletes, right? And so once you start to notice a pattern, it's like, okay, I just need you to think about it. When has America ever been comfortable giving black men anything?
Man, they ain't even trying to give reparations. Talking about look, and we talking about money that that they're working for.
So when you get it, just like anything, they're working to get it back from you, right? So I'll give you 100 million, but I need you to go, get. I need you to go hook up with my friend who I might have went to law school with as your agent. Go use my go use my wife's friend who is a realtor. Go to my friend's car dealership. So they're looking to get it back from you,
Go to
and
my jeweler.
yeah, they're looking to get it back from you in multiple ways, and it goes to different industries. So that's why they don't mind giving it to you because they're going to get it back, and so that's essentially what I'm helping the athletes understand is they want you to only focus on the game so they can take advantage of you.
Mm.
That's it.
You may also know this because you worked in the industry, and they even have to donate certain amount of money to certain to like
Nonprofit.
nonprofits. Yes, and if they
so
don't,
So let me tell
go
you
ahead.
how it works, right? So I'm not talking about the Texans. I love the Texans, great organization. I'm just talking about how it works in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how it works is they have a list of nonprofits that are already like good to go to do business with the athletes. So let's say if you are Kenny from the University of Miami, right? And you get drafted by the Washington Commanders. You ain't never been to DC before. So you come to DC, and let's say you don't have a passion. You don't know, you ain't really thought about how you want to serve your community. So it's like, okay, well, you need to pick a nonprofit to give to for a tax write-off. You're like, I don't know. So we're like, okay, well, here are the nonprofits that we usually work with, and 9 times out of 10, the player's just gonna pick something that's already on the list.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have
Not
to
his own.
think out of how many of the nonprofits on the list are black owned,
Mm.
and do the black athletes who are now touching millions, do they even have the wherewithal to pick only black nonprofits in the city that they give their money to?
Mm.
So think about it. If each NFL player in all of the cities that was black said, "Hey, for the next 5 years, we are only going to fund black nonprofits, and this is what we want to do. Our teammates who are not black, we need y'all to fund it too,
Mm,
because that's the key, right? We talk about allyship and doing all these other things. Ask your non-black teammates to help your cause just for 5 years. So it could be on rotation. It could be 5 years for this race, 5 years for that race. But essentially, there has to be a collective effort to take the money and put it, just like when
where
you
you
go,
want to,
you get, yeah,
opposed to
when
where
you,
somebody else wants you to.
yes. And so just to have that mindset of saying, hey, can I find a black nonprofit that I could give $250,000 to every year for a tax
My
write off?
God.
And then can me and my other 3 to 4 friends, excuse me, 3 or 4 teammates also do it? So imagine if, let's just say the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Let's just say, that's a very melanated team. Let's just say, hey, we're all going to give to Delaware State this year because our former Eagle, uh, Deshaun Jackson, is the head coach. If every single player for that 1 year chose to give for scholarships for Dell State, then the next year, let's say they choose the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. So now anybody in the I don't know, Philadelphia area who's discriminating, who's going against discrimination based on their skin, now the lawyers have money. That's another.
Mm-hmm.
The third year might be homelessness for young kids. So because we're so isolated, we can't make as big of an impact as we probably could collectively. So even if just one team decided to help one black nonprofit, or maybe three, maybe the offense does one black nonprofit, the defense
Mm-hmm.
does the other black nonprofit. So you could do two, right? It's just working on a collective effort to improve our community through sport. And so that's essentially what the book is looking to do, is just to have them to understand how to use sport as a vehicle, right? So
Mm.
sports is supposed to take you to your destination. It's not supposed to be your destination.
Come on.
And so when you think it is your destination, it can cause you to crash out. It can cause you to, if you get hurt, you might start thinking about self deletion. Once it's taken from you, and I've seen it. I've met with players who played at Power Forward programs, did really well the whole lives in football, couldn't pick a real major, get to the NFL, get hurt, and now
And
it's
that's
over.
all.
And they have to deal with that depression. Who am I without football? What can I do? I never even really know what I like. Now you don't really know yourself. So this is the book to help them understand that they're not commodities. Even though you're treated as a commodity, you're not a commodity. And we need you because sports is very influential. Even if you think about it, the people who were really good in high school, even if they don't play in college, how much of an impact could they have on the community just from being good in high school?
Mm.
Even at the 10, 15 year, 20-year reunion, 5 year reunion, you always going, it was like, man, like you was so, they still have that influence. And so what I'm saying is use that influence
To impact.
in a godly purpose that could help build our community.
You said something earlier, and it made me think when you was just speaking about the collective power that they actually have and what they could do. You spoke about how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad actually was one of your frameworks, or
Hmm.
help build the frame of this book. He speaks in I read the book. One of the I hate to, this is one of the only part, but one of the only parts that really stuck to me was the collectivity of how he took pennies, his economic plan, how he took
Hmm.
pennies and formed that plan to show you what pennies could do. But now that you even listen to you just now, and how they could really affect their community if they took millions or hundreds of thousands or thousands and put it together, what they could do for their community. Speak to that.
Yeah, so it's cooperative economics. So Elijah Muhammad, he had people selling bean pies and newspapers, and in suits, and people are like, oh, why are you selling bean pies and newspaper? Just very like low cost things. But if you look at what he was doing, he was creating black supermarkets, black schools. um, it's funny because I'll always use this example. Elijah Muhammad is him and his wife are one of the first, if not the first, black people in America to get arrested for homeschooling black kids.
For real?
Yeah, yeah. They got arrested in Detroit for homeschooling black kids in the early 1900s because they wouldn't send them to public school. So they arrested Elijah Muhammad and his wife for homeschooling black kids. So you have to you have to ask yourself the same system that will undereducate black kids, not give them a real education, won't give them Afrocentric curriculum, uh, will not would not allow them to be in a safe environment and be taught correctly. So when you fast forward now and you look at who does the majority of homeschooling,
Look at the irony.
and so it's the same thing. A lot of the things that we've done have been taken and reclaimed
Black Panthers with
with the lunch.
the breakfast
Excuse me, the
program.
breakfast. Yes. It's the
Look,
same thing. So they'll take it, repackage it, and then use it to their benefit, right? So when you think of like homeschool, you should think of black people, but we don't. And so essentially that's what I took from one of the things I took from just his message. You got to give the money away, and I'm just using this as an example for tax purposes, right? You got to give it away. So why not be intentional collectively about where you're going to give it to? And so the reason why I'm saying that is because it sends a bigger message.
hmm
So if we can all agree, so if the team can come to you, now granted, we all have different causes. Some people passionate about breast cancer. Some people might be passionate about suicide prevention, whatever it is, right? But if you could just come together as what 15, 20 brothers, I'm thinking of like on each side, offense, defense, or even as a collective, and just do it in one, two organizations, that would be more meaningful, right? So when you talk about spreading the wealth around, then that's gonna trigger something like,
hmm
whoa, like what y'all doing over there? Why y'all not giving to Jane's pageantry or something that's non-communal related, right? So yeah, I'm gonna give you the money, but I'm gonna incentivize and I'm gonna train you before you get it.
To take it here.
Yeah. So what Carter G. Woodson say? Um, he says, when you miseducate a black person, you don't have to tell them to walk through the back door. They'll
Yeah,
walk through
go
the
into
front.
his own stuff.
And so we are specifically miseducated and used and treated as a commodity so they can get the most out of us. And that's just not on the field, but that's off the field. So the book really just speaks to the off the field practice. So they essentially aren't getting used. So the same way Elijah Muhammad was trying to speak to the black man in America, I'm trying to speak to the black men and women in in America that happen to play sport and just teach them how to use it to their benefit and not be used.
Um, I think parents need to read your book
Absolutely.
because
And
most of our parents are putting our kids, excuse me, into sports because they understand that sports is a way that we have learned to be able to come from wherever we have been at and excel. But to come up, it get parents out the hood, it get
Mhm.
kids out the hood. These are some of the goals that we shoot for. And to your point, if you put this book not just into the uh the athletes, the people who are the coaches, if you put this in the parents' hands, what they get to do is instill it early.
Mm.
So one thing I want you, and one, I got a shout out to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad again. He's when I can look back at him, he was one of the greatest psychologists that have ever been. Faith leader, yes, but psychologist, because if you look at the nation now and how they've been built, it was psychology 101
Mm-hmm.
or psychology 100. That's before they ended up using it and getting it. So
Mm-hmm.
psychology 100. But where I see what God has allowed you to be able to do just through this book is to create a work of art that can reshape, kind of like not kind of like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did with the message to the black man. But this can be done, the message not just to the athlete, but to the parents and everybody else that goes with the athlete.
Now, Carlos, this is where it gets a little uncomfortable, right? So, I've, you know, I've I've interned for ESPN, interned in the NBA. Um, I've been around the sports profession. I've had student athletes, might need help with NIL, just calling to pick my brain. I don't charge them, right? Because I'm like, you're my student, you're not a client, right? That's the
Thank
first
you.
time they might see a black man who, might have my background or help
Who
them.
really cares?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I won't say his name, but probably like 2 years ago, I had I had an athlete just calling me, asking me stuff. He was trying to leave one school and go to another school for NIL money. And so he's like, hey, what are some of the questions I should ask? So I gave him like just, a couple of bare questions. And he was just like, man, I never even thought about that.
Mm.
So, one of the things he wanted to move to California. And I said, okay, they're offering you this amount. Um, how much are you gonna? What's the state tax like? Because California's expensive. He's like tax. I'm like, yeah, you're getting this amount,
They
but
will tax you. You better know
you're
this.
not keeping that amount. He's like, what? I said, no. I said, yeah. So they're gonna give you X, but you're not gonna take home X. You're gonna take home Y. So if you stay at this school, what's the likelihood and does the money matter? Okay, you say you want to major in this. How many black professors do they have? I have to go look. Okay, what are the
Mm.
black alumni doing? Um, I don't. So what did they talk to you about on the visit? And so sometimes the
Just money.
parents, yeah, and so sometimes the parents don't know
Mm-hmm.
what questions to ask. So what Doughboy say? Sometimes they don't know, don't show, or don't care. And so
Mm.
oftentimes a lot of parents are okay with the exploitation as long as they can get the reward. And that's just being honest. So you
Mm-hmm.
do have a lot of parents who care, but you have the parents who don't know how to navigate it, right? They might not have the social capital. I don't know how many, athletes can call a friend who is sports adjacent or, is an agent to ask for some advice without getting charged,
Probably
right?
nobody.
To read over a contract. So the parents might not know, which helps with the funneling or the miseducation. Then you have the parents who know but just want to cash out. Like, look,
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you. It's just like signing a bad record deal. I just want to be famous. Look, we'll figure out the other stuff after the first 2 or 3 albums come out.
And
And
you done
so,
already got you done got dragged through the mud then.
yeah. So,
Give me 1 second. Hold up.
no, you're fine. Yeah. So essentially, what I'm saying is sometimes the parents do know, and sometimes they don't know, and then sometimes they're complicit. And
Hmm.
so it can be a little complicated, right? So essentially, it comes down to this: your child has opportunity to make hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in dollars. You know, do you want to do you want to help collective responsibility, or do you want to just make sure you and your family are okay?
Hmm.
So that's a difficult conversation. And I say difficult because it's more so mindset, because you got to give the money up anyway for your nonprofit for tax purposes, right?
They're gonna make them give it up. They. This is what one of the things they push them to do. It's like in the clause. I mean, I ain't saying I ain't never been it, but I've
Yeah.
heard it's like in your clause, you got to give up some bread.
So we look at like Jalen Hurts. He chose a black agent, but his dad is a football coach, right?
Hmm.
So when you come from certain good families, it's easier for you to transition and not to be taken advantage of, versus if you come from a destitute background. And
Yeah,
so,
because then you're scrounging trying to figure this thing out, and I need this bread or I want this bread. The parents and the
mhm.
kid.
Yeah, so if you look at the last NFL lockout, there was players who were essentially signing like payday loans,
Mm.
loans from agents just to hold them over, and they weren't able to pay it back. Um, I don't want to necessarily like say his name because he's going through a rough time, but if anybody like just has to know, if you just Google NFL player loan lockout, it was one prominent player who basically should have retired but couldn't because he owed so much money.
Mm.
So you looking at us like, man, you probably touched maybe $100 million, and you are close, and you have to play football. And so that's from a business perspective. That's how they want you. You have no leverage. You always want your employees with no leverage. And so just like they gave it to you, they did things to make sure they got it back. And now when they got it back, now you need them. Now you can't decide, who's doing what. You just listen, I'm just here to make my money and not disturb anything, not get in the way of anything. It almost neuters you and makes you docile.
I was just about to say, going back to your title or going back to the three principles that you have in there. One of them, they take away your freedom.
Hmm.
The freedom is gone. Um, Another thing that I just by this conversation that I'm really like thinking about it, where are the older players that should be giving this game up about contracts,
Hmm.
about all this stuff? I understand you didn't got your money. You out of the game now. Why ain't they giving the information to the younger people or making this where this goes to the other one, friends? Why aren't and they ain't got to be friends, but mentors and people that say,
Hmm.
look, this is what happens in this game, and what I need you to do is be smarter with your with the be a good steward. We're gonna go to faith to be a
Yeah.
good steward with what you have.
I would say, okay, so stewardship looks different. So stewardship comes from how you're socialized growing up, and then who you choose to like partner with, right? So they're gonna have a big influence on that. So I would say most players do that,
Okay.
to the best of their ability, right? To the best of their
Hmm.
ability. Also, you gotta like know what you know and know what you don't know. So if I got other people handling it for me, I can't really talk to you about it because I got other people handling the business for me. I have a really good agent, or this, I can put you in contact with my agent. But if most Americans can't read, and then am I expecting somebody who's kind of been pushed along, regardless of race, because of the talent, to really understand uh, a contract negotiation, to then teach somebody else? So I would say some of them do. Some of them are in a position to do it, and then there's also the brothers that do, and then the people who don't listen. So it's really a mindset. So and that's why I said it could be a little tricky. You telling the person who's now touching money they've never seen before,
And his
hey,
mindset ain't there.
yeah. So it's in one ear, out the other. And so even with freedom, right? Freedom to be able to see your children when you want to, not
Hmm.
because your court mandated. What's today, Monday? Let's say if I wanted to go pick up my son or daughter, do I have the ability to, or do I have to wait until the weekend? Because the judge X, Y, and Z said I can only do it on the weekend. Or maybe it's the second or third weekend, right? That's in itself is freedom.
Hmm.
So are we thinking about that, right? So yeah, the NFL, they tell players, they have all the symposiums, they put them with mentors, they got vets, they got leaders, but the cycle still continues, which is why I'm trying to get them early with the
Hmm.
book. So we focus on them in high school and college, and you better understand what does freedom look like when you're a multimillionaire and you're in your early 20s. That's a very complicated question, right? And essentially, these brothers and sisters are put in positions that majority of people can't
Can't fathom.
relate to.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I believe the average millionaire is like 60. So you usually
Start
got
they may kick in at the age, I think they start like 50, and
yeah.
then 55, 50, it moves, but not, you are getting millionaires now that are early, but
Hmm.
the average, go back to your point, is between 50s and 60s.
Yeah, so they've lived a life, they're matured. It's way different than being
They're
handed
being
this.
20.
Yes. So we have to give some grace, and grace is definitely needed. And you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be on the right track. And so just helping them to realize that you're receiving this, but don't think because you're receiving it, they're not looking to get it back from you. And if you know that they're looking to get it back from you, that'll help speed up the maturity real quick, right? So just think about it. If I can get an athlete who's making 40 million to pay child support for 3 or 4 kids, how much money does the court system make?
They might make a killing.
Right?
They about to make a
Bailiffs got
killing.
bailiffs got to be paid. Court fees have to be paid. Lawyers have to be paid. So when you're realizing you're feeding a system that is just getting the money back from you in various ways, you realize like, oh dang, now I kind of see
I gotta
it.
wake up
So
early.
yeah, so I'm just addressing it more from a systematic way, and then also one of the things that I focus on is just sports in general. And so we take basketball. Dr. James Naismith, who created basketball, when he founded it, it was at the YMCA, and he founded it with the purpose of bringing people closer to Christ.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when you play basketball at the end, you're actually supposed to have Bible study. That, if you go and you look it up, that was the original purpose of basketball. So when we look at basketball, do we think we're supposed to spread the gospel of Christ? And
Mm-mm.
so it's ironic because basketball was created by this Christian in order to have Bible study, and I don't even know if they pray before or after the games, but football prays after.
Mm-hmm.
So even from a historical perspective, how sports was created and what is it design was is to
Everything
get
got away
people
from it.
closer to God. Yes. And so the further away you move from the source, the weaker the connection.
You said something, and I got to paying attention to it. It's been some years ago. I got to paying attention to how people worship football.
Hmm. Especially in the South.
They worship it. Sundays, most people ain't going to church, but they're gonna watch football. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, let's just be honest.
that's
But
real.
to your point of what you're just saying, it was created. Basketball was created to literally uh do Bible study. But football, yes, they pray and do, but it was to bring people closer to God.
Hmm.
But it's not being utilized. It's being praised opposed to learning to praise God for what it is that's being created.
Yeah, absolutely. So while football doesn't have the same uh,
Nucleus.
creation, while it doesn't have the same creation, doesn't mean it can't be used. So if you could pray, yeah, they get together and both teams will pray together. I think that's very impactful. So going to the ministry, that one of the things I plan to do is have the game on at the church, or
Mhm.
plan. Listen, if you're in Dallas, everybody's a Cowboys fan. The schedule comes out. Plan your sermons around this. Be reactive and inclusive to make sure if because that part is never going to change. But what can change is your offering times. Say there's a Thursday night game. Let's have a Thursday night service. Come, let's do service and then let's watch the game together.
You
Because
you about to turn it into community.
that's what it's supposed to be, right?
Mm.
So to me, I see it as a opportunity to evangelize just like sports was, right? Dr. James Naismith, it didn't, you don't care what day you play basketball and have Bible study. It's the fact that you have basketball and then Bible study. So that's one of the things I'll be planning to do is the same thing is to integrate whatever the people's interest is, right? So remember, sports is a vehicle it's supposed to take you to somewhere, right?
Hmm.
So if I got all these brothers at this one event, that's probably where I need to go.
Evangelize.
Yeah, and so the event just happens to be football, right? And so everybody can understand. So hey, God, essentially we're the quarterback and God is the head coach. We gotta listen to the headset, right? Have
Come
you
on,
been
come
going to
on.
practice, right? Do you know the playbook? So if he asks you to call an audible, you could be on with the Super Bowl 4 for 1, and God, and he says, run the ball. Are you gonna pass it? Are you gonna run it?
Gotta be
So
ready.
he gotta be tapped in. And so that's essentially what we're looking to do is just as a community embrace faith and understand that faith, family, and freedom is something that is initially ours. And if you if we ask people what does freedom look like, we'll probably get like a myriad of answers. But where freedom is not is being economically shackled to engines that fund your oppression. In the
Mm.
book, I talk about there's a study to talk about gambling because gambling is something that's really big. There was a organization that gave money to a gambling company, and then they also gave money to gambling recovering services. So, like Malcolm X said, basically, they will sell you the liquor, then arrest you for being drunk.
Come on now.
So they'll fund sports addiction, but then also fund,
The help for it.
yeah, the gambling hotlines and stuff like that. And so I think that's one of the biggest things now that we have to get away from is gambling. Like it's if you look at where most casinos are, they're usually in places that take advantage of economically poor black people with hope. Baltimore, Mississippi, Arkansas, Boston. I've never seen like a thriving black community
right
where
beside the
yeah,
what
you can look at yeah, Las Vegas. Once you leave the strip, it is yeah, it's bad, right? Because it brings all those other things that come with it. So that's what I want them to hopefully move past is the gambling. We've had college players now catching FBI charges for betting on games. So 10 years ago, if I said, "Hey, black man, now you're gonna have to worry about going to jail because you're between 18 and 22, and you might want to put some money down on the game," you'd have been like, "Come on, David, like you being a little bit too uptight. Nobody's going to jail for betting on sports games." Now we had over what 30 players indicted for fixing games for college basketball games. We're not even talking about football.
Mm,
So now you think about it. Okay, now I gave you this NIL money, and now guess what you have to do? Go hire a lawyer, go through the go through the court process, and now the money that you got, you're giving it right back, which is which is the common theme. So yeah, they'll sell you the alcohol, then arrest you for being drunk. So yes, they'll give you the money and tell you not to gamble. You look at what's going on in the NBA. They arrested the head coach, a few players before the start of the NBA. So it didn't matter how much money you have. It's about other things. And even with the arrest, they said it was ties to the mob. But we've seen no pictures of people.
of the mob.
Yeah, season almost over with. I've yet I've yet to see the picture of the non-black people because we know we're not in the mob, right? So even with that, they gave you the money, and now you have to give it back on court fees, legal fees, and all of that stuff, right? And so once they give you something, they're gonna try to get it back as best as possible, one way or the other. And that's why, and that's one way of freedom, right? When you can leave the game and you don't have to worry about anything else. Literally, leave the game and not worry about anything else. So that's the message to the black athlete is just to recognize, man, that God has put you here for a purpose. You are not a commodity. You are so much more. You're God's child, and this book is to be used as a guide to help you navigate. And if you notice, nothing ever comes back directly to me, right?
Mm,
So I don't say, "Oh, you got to pick the Give Black app to do this," or "You got to contact me for." No, whatever community you in, that's the community God sent you to. So that's the one you need to help build up, right? So if you don't have a passion or you don't know how you should serve, you'll pick a white organization that helps black kids, and nothing's wrong with that. But you would then have to look across and ask your counterparts who don't share the same complexion of you, are they given to black nonprofits? So if they're not and you're not,
then who?
yeah, yeah, right. So they'll teach you or guide you to do to help them, but they won't teach you and guide you to help yourself. When you pick a college, are you picking a black football coach? Now I want you to think about, if we were to lay out 100 of the best ever college athletes, how many of them would you could say probably played for a black coach?
Very few.
We should have, outside of Eddie Robinson, we should at least have five Nick Sabans.
Mm,
And so, a point in the book, I say, do we pick the school with the black athletic director, with the black principal? I mean, excuse me, with the black president, with the black coach, right? So it starts at an early age of understanding that essentially you're a walking economy. So if you're a walking $100,000, whatever bank you deposited in is going to benefit. So if you really want more black banks and you know there's $1 million, where you put your $1 million, $100,000, X amount of money is really going to help or hurt. And so if we
Hmm.
keep going to people who don't share our lived experience, won't hire us at any level, don't have a proven track record, how are you any better?
Basically, if you don't help yourself, how you expect how if you don't help your community, how do you expect anybody else to?
Yeah, they don't respect it, right? Yeah, they don't respect it. So we're during the whole kneeling thing. They were asking, the NFL owners to do more, and you should always ask people to help. That's amazing, right?
But what are you doing? W-
Yeah. Can we create a model to self-sustain, even when you're not playing for that team anymore, right? What are some things that we can do to make sure that people lives are improved, holistically, because we came to whatever city we're in and we just happen to be playing sport. I think that's really what I'm hoping that they under that one of the messages that they get is God gave you a gift. He put you in a place. Now how can you improve the community and not a detriment to yourself just by doing simple things, right? If we all want black head coaches, but we don't support the black head coaches that we have now, it's almost
Mhm.
an oxymoron, right? So in the book, I specifically advocate for Vanderbilt University. Vanderbilt University is the only SEC school that have multiple athletic directors who are black, and I believe they might be the only one to have a black athletic director, first
Mhm.
black woman. So the first one was good brother David. He passed away, and then his second in command, Candace, is now the athletic director. So they've hired multiple black head coaches to run Vanderbilt football. Alabama has yet to have one black head coach.
Mhm.
I'm not sure about the University of Florida. Texas has only had one. I don't know if A&M has had one, but they've done multiple, like back to back to back, multiple black athletic directors back to back. So, will we go and support a school that has shown an investment in black leadership? Because that's different.
Mhm.
Letting you be a head coach, an athletic director, that's black leadership.
Mhm.
Do we go and invest in those places, or do we take our hundreds of millions of dollars and we go invest it in the place that says we're not gonna hire you once you leave here? Yeah, once you
Mhm.
leave here, we'll give you all the money, but yeah, you can't come work here. And
That's
that's
interesting.
essentially what I like. Just do your due diligence. When the coach comes to recruit you, ask how many black assistant head coaches have you had, and then how many of them have went on to become head coaches, and what does that support look like? If they can't answer that question, why play for them?
Interesting.
So think about it. You have all of these black players who played for you, football, basketball, baseball, whatever.
But nobody deserved to be in leadership.
Right. If if I had to choose between going in the SEC, and I'm from Texas, right? Do I want to play for the University of Texas? Do I want to play for Vanderbilt? Me personally, I send my son to Vanderbilt. They have a history of hiring black people in leadership positions. University of Texas is a better sports program, but I mean, I worked for them when they had Charlie Strong. That didn't go too well, and then, that did not go too well, and they ain't touched a black coach since. And
Mhm.
when they did hire him, one of the biggest donors said, he's more of a defensive coordinator.
Mhm.
So you look at what's happened at Michigan, right? They never wanted, the only way Michigan had a black head coach, the only way he got the head coach is because Jim Harbaugh put in his contract, once I leave or go to the NFL, you have to hire him. That's what
Mm.
allyship looks like. If I leave, this is what you got to do.
And that's how
How?
that worked out.
Come on now, like I said, ask your white partners will they give to the your teammates, will they give to the black organizations. I, if I got a son, a daughter, whatever Jim Harbaugh needs, I, I'm gonna go do because I know he's one of the to my recollection, he's the only white man I know to do that
And that was big.
at the University of Michigan. He
So
said, don't miss me. We holler unqualified people all the time. I don't care about that." He said,
he qualified.
"Yeah, because I said so. I'm gonna put my
Mm.
stamp on it." Name another white coach who left who did that for a black man. I'll wait.
No one. So before we go, it's two things, well, really three things I need you to do. You've had much success with this book, correct?
I mean, success is relative. We still need to sell some
It,
copies, but
it most definitely. But the success also, what it does, it brings more people to understand why they need to get the book.
yeah, yeah.
Share a little bit about the success you have had, so then we can get them to understand where and why purchasing this book is important.
I think we're not going to be able to qualify this book by success by the amount of copies sold. I would love for it to sell as many 10 million copies, right? um, I am very much aware of this book is essentially anti-establishment, right? It's true Christianity. True Christianity doesn't tolerate racism or exploitation, right? So when you're telling a certain demographic, hey, here are the best practices not to be exploited. That's
You can
the
fight
person
back.
who's exporting it isn't necessarily excited about that, right? It's like, oh, that's a great message. Yeah, let's give it to the people who could actually change life within a couple of years and teach them how to better navigate so we can't exploit them. So success is really going to come from the people who lives we can change. And so I won't personally know until a few years, a couple of seasons, till somebody reaches out and say, "Hey, Dave, I read the book
Appreciate
and this is what I did differently,
you.
or this is
Hmm.
what we did differently." And so once I start hitting that feedback, that's when I'm going to know, okay, yeah, we're moving in the right direction. Yeah, so
Okay.
in a couple of months or a few months, I'll be speaking to the Coalition of Minority Football Coaches. And
Congratulations.
so I'm getting them to understand, hey, use this book as a recruiting tool. You are in a leadership position. Your university, whether black or white, entrusted in you. You should have an advantage outside of NIL because you're gonna get the same amount of money. But if I could go and work on collective responsibility, that should that should really put me over, right? There should be no reason why Deion Sanders shouldn't be the best coach in the Big 12.
Come on.
There should be no reason why Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame is, not going to the playoffs. James Franklin, like there's so few in the Power Four that they should be the best. And then when they are, you know what they'll do? Continue to keep hiring, continue to keep hiring. And so I'm going to mark the metrics by the people who read it and decide to do something differently.
Make
Uh,
change.
yeah, so what Minister Farrakhan says is the basis for community improvement is self improvement. And so that's essentially what I'm looking to do. And it doesn't always show up every day as we would want from like a metric standpoint. But it shows up as, hey, I'm going to go be a big brother, big sister. I'm gonna make sure I go to this black high school and show up. Just doing the small things. I'm gonna make sure I pick a black agent and
That'll be
not a
the
white.
metric stick.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm gonna make sure for my NIL deals, I pick a black agent who maybe shares my lived experience, who can understand me, who's not gonna jerk me on the contract. And if they need recommendations for sports agents, I definitely know some ethical black ones that will do really well. I'm gonna go to when I see an athlete say, "Hey, I'm making this decision because this school has shown a history of hiring people who share my lived experience." That's when I'll know the success is there. Because we say, "Oh, we put the hats on, we do all of this." I'm waiting for the man to have enough gumption to say, let him drop and say, "Yo, I'm picking this school because one of the things that matters to me is I want to play for somebody who has a shared lived experience." And so, if you say shared lived experience, that's something you can't argue with, right? So you don't have to say anything else. I know how to play the game too. I can teach them how to play it. So when you say, "Hey, I just wanted somebody I can connect with who have a shared lived experience," you know, that's what I want. And so it's always going to look differently how they do it and go about it. But as long as the end result is them investing
In
in the
themselves.
community and then in turn getting closer to God, and that's essentially what it is.
And last, if you will, give me a word of wisdom that can inspire somebody, anyone, but preferably mostly us, and then tell people where they can actually purchase your book. And y'all go
Mm.
get this book. Your kids play sports, you need this
Mhm.
book.
Yeah, I would say I give two, one practical, one biblical. Just put God first in all you do. And if you really put God first, everything else will take care of itself. And then practical, um, um, I would just say, uh, don't work or shop where they won't hire you.
Mm.
And so it's an old saying, but just keep that mind frame, right? Like who likes you. And so do a little research, like who likes you, and whatever romantically, business, community wise, pour into who has poured into you. And the book is on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon, you type in "message to the black athlete," it'll pop up. Make sure you put athlete because it's gonna say "message to the black man," and then it takes you to Elijah Muhammad's book. But yes, "Message to the Black Athlete" is on Amazon right now.
And last, I thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the movement that you're creating to help uplift the black athlete, the black female, male, the black parent who don't know information to ask or to add value to their children. I thank you for your words because when God give a man or woman something to say, if they don't say it, it's almost like they're not worshiping because you
Hmm.
chose not to use your words that will inspire somebody else. So from me to you, thank you, bro. Thank you for
I,
all that you do and
I appreciate
continue
that,
to do.
Carlos. And I'll say this one last thing. The example I used earlier, right? So let's say if you are an athletic director and you're trying to recruit basketball. Basketball, you only need about 12 to 15 players, right? And every time you bring in a black recruit, they say, "How many black faculty do we have?"
Mm.
What are you going to make sure you start to do? Hire more black faculty. So the athlete, just by asking a simple question, "Okay, yeah, I want to come to this institution. How many black professors will I have?" They they will be they have the ability to change the landscape just by asking simple questions. "Okay, this one has four, this one has six. Okay, well, what we can do is," so think about it. If a university will risk going to jail to get you there, uh, by promising you improper benefits or whatever, they can't make a couple of hires.
They can change the landscape for for the folks.
And so that's one of the things I would love to see is when they go on the recruiting visits, ask how many black people they'll see, especially if you're going to a white institution, how many black people you'll see outside of the kitchen and in
Mm-hmm.
janitorial services and leadership positions. And so once you start asking those questions, I believe just by posing them, at some point, they'll have to, right? Because if you want the player, you'll
You're
move
gonna
heaven
make
and
the
earth.
adjustments.
And you got to think about it like this: if a person will give you a Lamborghini but won't hire somebody with your shared lived experience,
Keep the Lamborghini.
and
They
it's a
can keep it.
mindset. Some people
Yeah,
want the Lambo, right? And so
yeah.
yeah, so I'll take the Lambo. They got to figure it out. And so that's the thing, right? But yeah, I appreciate your time, Carlos, and thank you
Appreciate
for
you.
asking me, man. I really appreciate it, brother.
It was my honor. So with that, my name is Carlos Walker. This is Black Authors Matter. Art and Hustle, Black Authors Matter. And this is Mr. David C. Hughes. Blessings.